Sector-specific climate policies are designed to address emission sources and transition challenges unique to individual industries. Because transportation and power generation account for a significant share of global greenhouse gas emissions, they have become major targets of climate policy. Policymakers use regulations, incentives, carbon pricing mechanisms, emission standards, and technology mandates to accelerate decarbonization. These policies seek to reduce emissions while maintaining economic competitiveness and energy security. Sector-specific approaches recognize that different industries face distinct technological, operational, and financial constraints. As a result, climate policy often combines broad economy-wide measures with targeted interventions that address the unique characteristics of specific sectors. Climate policies in the transportation sector focus on reducing emissions from road vehicles, aviation, shipping, and public transportation systems. Common measures include fuel economy standards, vehicle emissions regulations, subsidies for electric vehicles, investments in charging infrastructure, and mandates promoting alternative fuels. Governments may also support public transit systems and urban planning initiatives that reduce reliance on private automobiles. In many jurisdictions, transportation policies are increasingly linked to broader net zero strategies and efforts to electrify mobility. The objective is to reduce dependence on fossil fuels while encouraging technological innovation, improving air quality, and lowering greenhouse gas emissions from one of the largest emitting sectors globally. The power generation sector is similarly subject to extensive climate-related regulation because electricity production has historically relied heavily on fossil fuels. Climate policies in this sector include renewable energy mandates, emissions performance standards, carbon pricing systems, clean energy subsidies, and phase-out schedules for coal-fired power plants. Governments often encourage investment in solar, wind, hydroelectric, geothermal, and other low-carbon energy sources. Policy frameworks may also support energy storage technologies, grid modernization, and energy efficiency improvements. By reducing the carbon intensity of electricity generation, policymakers seek to facilitate broader economy-wide decarbonization, particularly as transportation, buildings, and industrial processes become increasingly electrified. A fundamental concept in climate reporting is the classification of greenhouse gas emissions into Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 categories. Scope 1 emissions are direct emissions generated from sources owned or controlled by an organization, such as fuel combustion in company facilities or vehicles. Scope 2 emissions are indirect emissions associated with purchased electricity, steam, heating, or cooling consumed by the organization. Scope 3 emissions encompass all other indirect emissions occurring throughout the value chain, including those generated by suppliers, transportation providers, customers, product use, business travel, and waste disposal activities. Together, these categories provide a comprehensive view of organizational climate impacts. Among the three categories, Scope 3 emissions are generally the most difficult to measure and manage. Organizations often lack direct control over activities occurring within their supply chains and customer value chains, making data collection challenging. Information may be unavailable, inconsistent, incomplete, or based on estimates rather than direct measurement. Methodological differences between organizations can also reduce comparability across disclosures. Furthermore, there is potential for double counting when multiple organizations report emissions associated with the same activities. Despite these challenges, Scope 3 emissions frequently represent the largest share of a company's total carbon footprint, making their assessment increasingly important for investors, regulators, and stakeholders. Private sector sustainability and climate investment policies encompass a broad range of voluntary frameworks, commitments, and investment approaches. These include ESG integration, sustainable investing, responsible investing, impact investing, climate-focused investment strategies, stewardship initiatives, and net zero commitments. Financial institutions increasingly incorporate environmental and climate-related factors into lending, underwriting, portfolio construction, and risk management processes. Corporations may adopt sustainability policies governing emissions reductions, renewable energy procurement, biodiversity protection, and supply chain standards. Such policies help organizations identify risks, capture opportunities, meet stakeholder expectations, and align business practices with evolving sustainability objectives and market demands. Public policy has played a critical role in promoting the adoption of green finance and sustainable investment practices. Governments and regulators have introduced disclosure requirements, sustainable finance taxonomies, climate risk reporting frameworks, green bond standards, and incentives for sustainable investments. Regulatory support has increased transparency and encouraged financial institutions to incorporate sustainability considerations into decision-making processes. International initiatives, climate agreements, and supervisory expectations have further accelerated adoption. These policies help direct capital toward environmentally sustainable activities, support climate mitigation and adaptation efforts, and strengthen financial system resilience. As sustainability considerations become increasingly material to economic performance, public policy continues to shape the evolution of green finance globally.